It bothers me that this guy can have a show. It's just ridiculous.
We have a show?
Yeah.
We do. It's true.
I'm sure it bothers someone.
Speaking of bothering people, let's start the show.
Vampire pot-belly goblins. This week on New to You, Lost and Forgotten, Part 2, Billy Bragg and Wilco, Mermaid Avenue. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the New to You show. This is second in our Lost and Forgotten series. Last week I brought us Forgotten Silver, very on the nose, I think.
Mm-hmm.
John, fine. Speaking of which, I am John Holt, one of the hosts. With me,
Keith Allen Vincent, one of your other hosts, and
Julian Cates, your other
all right,
host,
and our
special
returning guest.
Kristen Sherman.
Welcome
back.
Hey.
Woo.
welcome back.
You're a little
Belly goblin.
Welcome back.
Hillary Clinton smells like sulfur.
Hey man, lizard people.
So we are new to you,
We are not an Alex Jones fan cast.
No.
where we recap episodes.
Well, we're also not.
Could you imagine that podcast? It'd come on every day, and it's just like the recap, like Walking After the Walking Dead type show, but it's all Alex Jones.
Yeah, Jacking Jones or something. Welcome to Jacking Jones. We're here with creator and producer Tim Flard. Hey Tim, how do you get his face so red? And really, is there enough butter?
But usually on our show, we give recommendations about media and things that we think that you should explore and enjoy. Right, Holt? Would you say that there's a water cooler involved?
Not anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Not for the past few episodes.
No, we've gone digital.
Hands of La Croix. We've gotten the millennial bug.
nothing but La Croix and avocado toast.
That's right. Dr. Thunder and La Croix.
Yeah, we have to eat our avocado toast after the episode so it doesn't crunch in the microphones. Yeah. We got letters.
You will occasionally hear us slurping the avocado off the toast, though. Like
you sometimes hear me cracking my my pepper mill over it.
Just salivating onto the saliva mics that we have below. You can listen to our saliva cast at Moist to You show. All right, so I was up last week. Keith, you're going to be up this week with Lost and Forgotten. Why don't we roll right into your pick?
Sure. Somebody put up the post, the concept of Lost and Forgotten. I thought it was a really good, neat, open-ended topic. But again, I struggled with finding something that fit it. I was listening to this silly Woody Guthrie record that we play for my son. It's this lady who's a preschool singer. She did a whole record, all of Woody Guthrie songs, and then it was just hit me. I was just like, oh yeah, I should do Mermaid Avenue because within the theme of Lost and Forgotten, this is a record where the daughter of Woody Guthrie basically handed lots of artists just tons and tons of unpublished lyrics that Woody Guthrie had been working on for decades. It turns out that he was always more reluctant to do the music than the lyrics. He would always come up with lyrics, and so he never got around to adding music to them. And so, his output of writing was just so off the charts compared to his writing of music. He's just got hundreds and hundreds of songs that are just out there waiting for somebody to put music to. And in fact, with this project alone, they've made 3 records in the Mermaid Avenue collection. And it's been over a span of, I believe, 12 years. So 1998 is when the first one, which I'll be discussing, came out. And I believe as recently as last year, or maybe 2 years ago,
was
the third volume came out.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll get into it, but I think they kind of like,
Let's
they came
get
out
into it.
strong with the first one.
Sorry, Nora Guthrie, she sought out artists to work on this project. This was something she had been dreaming of for a long time. She heard Billy Bragg do actually a cover of a Woody Guthrie song, and she was like, "That's the guy for me." And so I don't know how Wilco got involved, but I'm really glad that they did. Nora Guthrie gave them these songs, and they all went off and basically into their own corners and wrote stuff, and then they came back together over like 3 different recording sessions for the first record. One session in New York, one in Chicago, and one in Dublin, Ireland. I guess where Billy Bragg's home turf or something. I'm not certain. The record came out really great. The year was 1998. I remember when it first came out. We just couldn't stop listening to it. I think what this material in the hands of lesser artists would have become is just, we're going to kind of be a Woody Guthrie cover band, and we're going to just repurpose all these old, because the folk scene of Woody Guthrie's circle was kind of a repurposing of old spiritual music, some old troubadour stuff from the West, and from some old Irish folk songs. These all these folk traditions kind of amalgamated into the folk scene that he comes from, with Cisco and Pete Seeger and that crew, and Leadbelly. Woody Guthrie says one of his biggest influences was Leadbelly.
And there's some collaboration records of them.
Woody Guthrie's life in and of itself, I think, is a forgotten tragedy.
There are a couple of great documentaries about it too.
Okay.
Like there's a BBC one from Arena from 1988 that's a good backstory of Guthrie, and then there's actually a documentary about the making of Mermaid Avenue called Man in the Sand, which also recaps a little bit of his history.
Yeah, which would have been a good one to suggest for this, actually, considering I have a feeling a lot of people are kind of familiar with this record, at least in our circle. Back to discussing the record itself. So I don't know if it was just, I was already a big fan of Wilco when this record came out, and I don't know if it was because of that or what, but I always lean toward the Wilco songs. They always seem a little bit more fun than the Billy Bragg songs. It comes right out of the gate swinging. Let me get a track list here. Walt Whitman's Niece leads it all off, which is a fun, sing-along song. But it really feels kind of more traditional.
Mm-hmm.
But then is California Stars next?
Yeah.
And that song really, that's a song where they decided, hey, you know what? We are Wilco. We're going to basically write a Wilco song with these lyrics.
Right.
And it's just so good. California Stars does that. And I feel like the most of the record is that, where they're just like, we're going to write songs that we want to write, and these and we're going to use these lyrics as inspiration, and I think that the payoff is just great and timeless. The music is much more timeless this way. I don't feel like it's very niche. I don't feel like you can play a lot of these songs in a lot of alt rock type scenarios and they fit right in. It's not like a tribute album.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of songs too where some of them sound like it's like Wilco doing their thing, but some of them really it's a kind of song they never would have made, but it also doesn't sound like Woody Guthrie. It's just something new, and it's great.
I love Wilco. You can put that, in fact, I was just doing this recently where you put Wilco on Spotify and every single song is fine. You don't skip a single thing. But there is a magic to this where they're not writing the lyrics. There's something new in it to them. Because
I have to say, I like Wilco, but I like this record more than any Wilco record.
Have you heard? Well, we'll talk about that some other time. Sky Blue Sky is just this out of this world record you should listen to by Wilco.
I think what helps this record is that Billy Bragg's influence is also in there, and you get some anthem songs that are also really Guthrie, anti-fascist union fighting songs, and that's his milieu. That's where he lives, and
that's Billy Bragg's playground.
And then you get these ones where they're clear, Way Over Yonder in the Minor Key is clearly one of those folk Appalachia retelling tales, it's they did in the 60s with the old Scottish tales. They're taking
in a
that
holler,
in a holler, and real nice.
And you've got silly songs like Hoodoo Voodoo,
and Hoodoo Voodoo, even that
so
that's
good.
a standout with organs, and actually some people think is the one that doesn't fit with the rest. But
those people are liars.
Well, no, it's swingy. It's got organ. It's lives in a different spot, but it's also the one written once you look at the context, it's written for his kids. It's a nursery song. It's supposed to be fun and raucous and a little more wild, and so it's just all over the place. And Ingrid Bergman is that and Wander. I don't know. There's actually, it's hard to pick my favorites, but it just vacillates. Sometimes it's Ingrid Bergman. Sometimes it's
it would have to be either California Stars, Hoodoo Voodoo, or because those could go anywhere and just be amazing songs. You know what I mean?
I think what sets this album apart really is the way they place the songs. And if you're listening to them consecutively, it really like they draw you in with Walt Whitman's niece, and
Yeah.
then you kind of go on a journey
Mhm.
where it moves and you're not hearing the same thing over and over again. And
yeah.
you're going
Right.
in and out of these like almost different genres, and it just keeps you like wanting to hear the next thing.
Yeah, it just feeds into the next like a good
Mhm.
mixtape. Yeah, but to me though, it's no contest. My favorite record off of this is called "Birds and Ships" that Natalie Merchant sings.
Hmm.
It's just a haunting
This is
song.
the one's like.
Yeah.
I don't know the
Yeah.
lyrics to it. The birds and ships I'm passing. But see, like I know, like
Like my lonesome lover be,
I-
birds may be singing.
I think there's just the nice thing about it. It's so diverse that there's enough for like again why I say Yonder Key for me because I lean towards those like folk
Yeah.
troubadour things and
Mhm.
Hoodoo Voodoo when I'm in like a raucous mood.
Yeah, but you don't find Way Over Yonder in the minor key to be a little kind of like creepy pedophile predator?
I think there's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
With the little girl in the tree.
Yeah.
Is he a little boy or is he
Right.
like a grown man?
Well, what I thought at the
Mm.
beginning is he's a kid who's getting puberty first. Ain't nobody can sing like me way over younger. His voice is dropping,
For a
right?
second, I thought it was his daughter.
Well,
maybe?
first, well, I mean, it can be interpreted in many number of ways, but this is how I feel. It's like he starts off telling a story of the first time he used that trick way over yonder, and then he's like, now it always works.
Yeah,
if
but
you
I
listen to the
think
lyrics,
he's kind of saying that I would lean it a little more wholesome than that.
Mhm.
Like
I hope
it's-
so.
It's definitely like two kids getting switched for like
Fooling around in the hole in the
holler.
tree.
Mhm.
And then this kid like it's more it's very very like country learning things on the farms situation.
What does she say? Like, you're the ugliest.
Yeah, you're like an ugly little boy, like a toad man.
Yeah.
Never seen a boy that's so ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't the full lyrics, sadly.
For which one?
There's more.
Way over yonder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It keeps
I know
going and going.
it's yeah.
But it's one to listen to and think like, well, it's a different time and all that, and maybe it's not as
I
nefarious
kinda-
as
the
my
way I-
mind
Part
likes
of
to
me
go
was like,
to.
it's not that much about the lyrics anymore for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, that's true.
See, yeah, I guess I read it as like it's like a kid.
like
You're
a
10
nursery.
years old.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever, and it's probably a little more innocent or like kissy or whatever. Maybe you're 12 and you're both like,
No, I think it's innocent because at the end, like it says, her mama
getting
cut a
switched.
switch from a cherry tree and laid it on the
the
she and me.
Yeah.
So I think it's like they got caught doing something naughty and they
Yeah,
got-
it's like
they're two kids. Like
And they got
it's
punished.
not weird.
I don't think it's
than
as
that.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
says, I still look back to those Tanglewood days.
right. So
I've
he's,
led lots of girls since then to stray,
right.
saying ain't nobody that can sing like me.
Yeah. So what he's saying
Yeah.
is like he's
Yeah.
so he started as a young Lothario. And no, but it's like I don't
Fine,
see,
that's fine.
I don't
That's fine.
see how it's creepy. Like when he says girls, I think he just means like other women.
I just assumed he's older and his voice is deep. That's why he can convince these girls. But it's
I
fine.
was just I wasn't seeing it as that at
His
all.
voice changed. But
I just seen him as like an
the
ugly.
best
But I mean,
frog kid.
his songs are definitely filled with lots of there's a lot of sexual
Right, but-
innuendo in a lot of those, like Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah, but see, Ingrid
Climb my
Bergman's-
mountain, touch my
Yeah, but
touch
those are
the
super
hard
but
rock.
Those are like sweet in a.
This old mountain has been waiting for the do 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 do
hands
do.
to touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all like there's still like an innocence. Like he's a smart, aware,
Mm.
and that there's like an innocence. And when he's singing about like he's thinking about two kids in the summer who were like doing stupid kid stuff down on the farm.
Well, I hope
and-
that's right. I think that's a good
No,
way to
that's-
see it.
It's
And that's
also
what
like
we're gonna just assume that that's what
I
it
It's the
is.
think
best
also
part
what
about
you-
art. It can be interpreted
Yeah.
anyway.
I think the other thing
I
to
think that's
remember
what you
is
bring to
the other
it,
thing
you
to remember is
perverts.
maybe some of these songs, maybe for some of these songs, like he chose not to, record them or to write music to them because he was like, oh, this is too silly.
Well, the
I was just goofing off here.
Well, no,
Yeah.
he recorded lots of good. I mean, if you hear his children's music, a lot of it's very nonsensical. Like Hoodoo Voodoo is
Yeah.
that. It's just like Hoodoo Voodoo 721
And it
2.
was
It's
one
just
that
like
he sang too. Like
Yeah.
he may not have written the music to
Mhm.
it or
Mhm.
recorded it, but it was.
Well, that's one of the ones that's
did
on the
record.
Elizabeth Mitchell record,
Hmm.
and it's called 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And in it, a lot of the lyrics from Hoodoo Voodoo are in there. And I was like, Elise and I were listening to this, because Felix likes to listen to it. We're in the car. And I was like, wait a second, that's in the Hoodoo Voodoo song. And a lot of the lyrics are in it. It's pretty neat because it's the melody's different. So you kind of have to pick it out. But perhaps for homework, we'll listen to that song.
It's kind of like when you hear All Star,
Yeah.
It's a different...
What is it?
I'll save that for my new to you.
Okay.
Looking back and listening to and rereading about Woody Guthrie, a long time ago I read the book Bound for Glory, which was his autobiography, which is really interesting. I've always just loved his story. I just think he's a really interesting guy, even though he's got his own complications.
Demon.
Yeah, as a hero. But what I found to be just such a tragedy is that the way his life played out is got to be one of the. He was a lucky guy in that he got out of the Dust Bowl, Oklahoma, and was successful in his own way, in his own life, in his own time. But when he was a kid, his mother had a disease called Huntington's disease, and which attacks your brain cells.
There's a specific type of Huntington's they had that also it causes
dementia.
Dementia.
Yeah, and as a young child, he saw his mother. They had to leave her somewhere, and they had to move away because she slipped into this kind of madness from this disease. And at one point, she tried to burn all the kids alive in the house. And this is according to his book. And the sad thing is that you have kind of a 50-50 chance of, if your mother has that, you have a 50-50 chance of having it. And so to know that that's your fate, to know that that's going to happen to you, that's got to be one of the, I don't know, I just don't know how anyone can do it. Yeah, that's what he died of. A lot of these songs he wrote, he didn't have kind of the motor functions to play at the end, so just to know that like that tragedy is happening kind of, I don't know, it tinges all of his work to me in a
all of a
neat
sudden,
light.
Hoodoo Voodoo is a really sad song.
Well, he started out pretty young though. I mean, he was prolific and
Yeah.
was rolling pretty quick out the door.
Mm-hmm.
When he left Oklahoma, just going as a Dust Bowl troubadour.
Yeah. So
And he died at 55, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very young, but considering how much he had accomplished and wrote and stuff, so much of it too was. He was like a radio personality for a lot of stuff. So we have no record of all the stuff he had written for those, and like all the sketches and funny little stories he told and all that. But
He went to World War II.
yeah, he was a merchant marine in World War II.
Survived U-boat attack after U-boat attack.
That's kind of the backdrop onto which this. Well, I don't even know if these people actually considered it much as they were writing these songs. They might have just kind of tried to strip it away and just look at each song individually or whatever. But they really did good. They did a great job with this material. And I think that even in the Volume 2 has fewer like kind of barnstormers than Volume 1, and Volume 3 has even fewer. But none of the songs are bad. You know what I mean? They pay the respect to each. They give each song its due respect, I kind of feel like. I just feel like what happened is they picked all the best ones,
Right.
and then they picked the best ones out of what's left.
I think 2 is maybe a little softer, but there's some still real good stuff. 3 is where I think they're scraping the barrel to the point where like he's not even able, like he's singing weird falsettos, because he can't get a female
Billy
singer
Bragg.
in to cover this part of the track.
From what I understand, a lot of these Volume 2 and 3, a lot of those songs came from the first recording.
And it's like demo session stuff,
Yeah,
and they just didn't.
that's probably
They just
what it
didn't
is.
get
Yeah.
Natalie Merchant in, and so
Is that just
Natalie Merchant called. She can't come back.
Is that the label just kind of milking this thing?
That's what I
think
that's
so,
what I
yeah.
assume.
3 is sort of like a soft cat. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
2 is actually like
There's some great tunes.
Yeah.
on there.
really
yeah.
fleshes out the collection, and because the first one leaves you hungry for more,
Mhm.
and they're just so much more.
Yeah, for some reason I kind of have them like I think them as
Yeah.
I have 1 and 2 as one thing.
Exactly, and they do flow together in that way. The standout for the second record, in my opinion, is the one that goes.
The UFO one.
There's an airline plane. No, 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 no. It's like an airline to Jesus or something like that. And
There's a big
airline to heaven. And that could go right on the first record. Like you wouldn't even blink if it was on the first album. It's just an easy one. I was never familiar with Billy Bragg until this record came out. I've become somewhat of a fan of his since then. I really, it took me a while to get used to his voice, and I really, and once I did, though, I really enjoy his stuff. But I guess that's about all I have to say about it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, one thing to consider, this is Wilco before there used to be kind of two creative heads of Wilco, Jeff Tweedy and Jay Farrar. Jay something. I think it's Farrar. This was before they kind of parted ways.
They still had like the full duo.
Mm-hmm. And I think Summer Teeth came out after this, the record Summer Teeth, and that was their last, basically, that was their last record with that.
Is it Jay Bennett?
Jay Bennett, thank you, yeah. Jay Farrar, I think, was in the
Jay Bennett has dreadlocks? Is that?
Kind of, yeah. He's got like longish hair. But live, they were really, really dynamic together. I really kind of didn't know if the band would survive without him. I mean, just what he brought to it. It's almost like he balanced out Jeff Tweedy in a way. But after he left, and they got a new drummer as well. That's when Yankee Hotel Foxtrot came out. The band itself just became like a whole different thing, and they're just amazing. They continue to be in spite of losing half their creative energy.
Right. I mean, me and Jules have heard this a bunch. Kristen, had you heard this record before?
No, it was my first experience with it.
Did you think it was real?
It was all fake.
Woody Guthrie was a figment of your imagination the whole time.
Actually, I was listening to Hoodoo Voodoo today, and like that first, the first instrumental part, the reminded me of another song, and I was like, this is bothering me so much. So I kept replaying it, asking everyone, being like, what does this remind you of? And if you listen to Lady Madonna, Lady Madonna.
Yeah, that's cool.
Totally.
I was like, it's a Beatles song. It's a Beatles song. And finally somebody was like, Lady Madonna. And I was like, you're right.
Somebody being Catherine.
It was Catherine.
Nailed it.
Shout out to Catherine.
You Skyped her?
I just G-chatted her.
Yeah. And you typed in,
this?
do 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 do.
She was like, she just read that. It was like, Lady Madonna.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, duh.
I can tell by the way you capitalized every second. It's Lady Madonna.
Because you can't Google that.
No.
Yeah. And in fact, I was on the hunt too, and I found like one of those sound-like things, and I just tried to search if someone had put because you can put two things together
Oh,
that
neat.
sound alike, but no such luck.
Well, not until now. Go out there.
Yeah.
Build
New
it.
to you listeners.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're like, I know it's a Beatles song. So I was Googling titles of Beatles songs and then listening to them.
So what are your impressions of this record?
I really liked it. I feel like a lot of the folky stuff is kind of right up my alley. When I first started listening to it, like I said, Walt Whitman's niece really pulled me in, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna like this.
Yeah, that seemed almost like a bar, like sing along with your
Right.
beer in the air.
Right. It's like but it's also very Irish. Is he
Yeah.
Irish? It's very much like one
Well,
of
I don't know
those.
if Billy Bragg is Irish. I honestly don't know, but they recorded that in
Yeah.
Dublin, so
Right.
Yeah.
It feels like that.
Mhm.
He's English.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in that one where he talks and he goes, where he kind of, Billy Bragg, there's the singing part, and then
Mhm.
there's a part where he's talking, he's like, and it took a very long time for them to come back with the book and the other lady and the guy, and I was like, that sounds like Michael Caine. It's like wherever he's from is where Michael Caine's from because the accent is almost the same. It's really interesting.
That is interesting.
He's from Essex.
Essex.
But I almost felt like opposite, I think, to what you said. I liked the Billy Bragg songs the best.
Wow.
And I didn't know until I looked up the Wikipedia page and was like, oh, let me see a list of who's singing what. And I'm like, oh, I enjoyed those the most.
Well, you definitely know when it's Billy Bragg singing them. It's just like
Yeah, but when you're
unmistakable.
listening to it, you're not really
Yeah.
like focusing on who's really singing. You're
Yeah.
just like, oh, I enjoy this song.
It's
Like,
another song, yeah.
just experiencing all of it.
Yeah.
Did you like the Natalie Merchant song,
I did.
Birds and Ships?
Yeah, of course.
And what did she sing another song on this record?
I think she backs up on
She
another
backs
one.
up
She's backing up on
on
Way Over Yonder in the
Yonder,
minor
yeah.
key.
I watched a couple clips from the documentary. Just like I couldn't find the full thing around easily. 'Cause it used to stream. I had watched it on Netflix, but for some reason it's hard to pull it up on Netflix right now. But they actually like kind of show the process. Like they show them kind of playing a couple songs and talking through the process. And in that documentary, you can hear a lot of the demos, like raw cuts, as they're trying to figure out how this is going to work and like playing with different instruments performance in the
That's
mix,
neat.
and like Natalie Merchant kind of like as they're getting like bad takes, her kind of riff singing like about how this guy's going to do it right this time and not fuck it up. But they do like as they're bringing the lyrics in and starting to talk about the phrasing and stuff, they do talk about like, you know, this is the intent behind this song. Like this is a song. He's been on the sea for a while and he's waiting for like, so they're definitely putting like trying to find the intent of the song
Of the lyrics.
and fold that in and make sure that they're hitting the spirit of that, whether you know the emotional beats, longing, or the wistfulness, or the nostalgia, any of that kind of stuff, the caddish nostalgia, or the like sort of sweet like horny sailor kind of stuff. Like it's all those.
It's
all those little, like,
longing with a
tweak things.
tinge of horniness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting to watch those clips of them kind of like figuring it out as all the different people collaborate. Yeah.
And again, that's called Man in the Sand, and,
Mhm.
and I guess it's from BBC. Put that together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm gonna
In
check-
conjunction with
I'm gonna check that out. That's
Nora,
new to
Nora
me.
Guthrie was a producer of that as well,
Mm.
which
And
is
then-
kind of neat that she stayed involved through the whole process.
Mhm.
And I had been listening to Bragg before this because of like through like a mixtape, someone had put a track on there, and then the Time Bomb track, and then there was just a few other tracks that like kind of I just got a few albums, early albums of his, with like Milkman of Human Kindness and those sort of things, is more like lilting, less like hard anthem stuff. But yeah, I've been a fan of Billy Bragg's stuff, not as much of his like heavy politicals, like union busting, anti-fascist stuff, but that's pretty big on his stuff. But he definitely has some fun music that I really like, and he was a good pick for this. And that's
It's not a pick that I would have thought of. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I wasn't familiar with his stuff, but I would have never thought like, who would do a really good Woody Guthrie song? Billy Bragg.
Yeah.
But he does. He does a
I
great.
mean, he's a modern like folk dude. Who's the guy? There was like a guy who I don't know. There was like a folk singer from like the 50s or 60s. He died pretty young. Who had a song that was actually like lambasting liberals at the time. Like him basically saying like kind of saying they're duplicitous. And Woody Guthrie had mentored Dylan to some degree, and Phil Oakes, but it's the guy.
Oh.
Yeah, like Love Me. I'm a Liberal.
OCHES.
OCHS.
Yeah.
Like Woody Guthrie had.
Oh,
meant-
Phil Oakes sings the Mississippi song, right?
Yeah.
What's the Mississippi song?
Here's to the state of
Yeah.
Mississippi.
He's
Know the tune.
he's like a good again sort of that time folk singer. But I guess the parallel I'm making is this is a guy, Woody Guthrie is like one of the fathers of folk or whatever. So like Ramblin' Jack Elliott, Bob Dylan, like Van Rourke, all those guys owe a debt to him, and he was distilling and appropriating the music of the time, like working with Leadbelly and working with these people whose songs were being recorded by Sir Francis Child and that kind of stuff, and writing his own poems and versions of that, and those were going to Britain, and we've talked about like Sandy Denny and those people,
That generation.
those doing folk, like taking the British songs that were recorded or found again in the U.S. and recording them anew with like rock basses, and he's feeding them into like the Village and getting those people to sing them folk-wise, and now this is like another version of that, where like Billy Bragg and those guys, like the new version of folk.
The wheel has turned again.
And I don't know, that's why I think it's a shame it's not on the first record. Maybe they knew they were going to do 2 volumes at first, because the like All You Fascists, I think should have been, I mean, I don't know, if they were just to do one, like Mermaid Avenue, if they were to like make the real hard cuts, I think All You Fascists would have to go on that. That's it's on the second album.
Well,
Mermaid Avenue.
there is one on the
they knew-
there is one on the first record that's about union song,
Yeah.
union battle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they must have. I think they knew because wasn't Volume 1 called Volume 1 from the outset? I think they knew it was
Yeah,
going to
I
be
think
2
so.
records. I think they were like, oh, there's too many songs.
Yeah. But I mean, All You Fascists.
No, on the cover it's not called
not called
Volume 1. It's just called Mermaid Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but basically what I'm saying is they were making like, I feel like they maybe were held like, because some of the later tracks are a little softer. They're still good, but it's really like the next album doesn't have as many hits, but some of the hits are like worthy of the first record kind of thing. They should.
It kind of feels like it's the B-sides, like, but they're still really excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it.
So Mermaid Avenue refers to an avenue in Coney Island where Woody Guthrie lived in a house. So that's why it's named after. He was writing these songs in his Coney Island apartment. So any people, any Brooklynites going down to ride the Cyclone can go take a look. It's where the Mermaid Parade goes by too. It's really neat.
And it's weird because Mermaid, like one of the later stage things of Huntington's is you need to be in the water all the time and your legs fuse together and become a tail. And so it's sort of
tragic.
ironic. And so
It's
we have a parade every year to commemorate the people
Yeah.
down in Coney Island
It's beautiful.
who are victims of this horrific
Yeah, I
genetic
think
disorder.
it's a little bit offensive.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think they
Oh, it's
they should stop doing it.
it's abstracted. You know, it's abstracted from the original intent. Maybe.
But I always found it
Hey.
weird because when this record was out, Arlo Guthrie was still alive. He might still be
He's
alive,
still alive.
correct?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't involved with this. Does anybody else find that interesting?
Maybe he's too close to it.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't think
he already had a very good career of his own. I don't know why he wouldn't at least like
But it might be the kind
be
of
a
thing.
guest on it or
But
something.
it might be the kind of thing where you're always like living in the shadow,
Of your-
and so he
Yeah,
wants
but I don't think if your dad's Woody Guthrie, I mean, I'm sure young Arlo Guthrie was up against that, but like Arlo Guthrie of the '90s, you're gonna embrace that. I kind of feel like, don't you think? You've
maybe.
already proved that you can write Alice's Restaurant, which is great.
maybe
Yeah.
that's what maybe he's still.
I think the tone of his tone of writing and his music is not appropriate for this.
Well, I
stuff.
mean,
think
you
it's
you would
different.
say that you could say that about Wilco out of context. You could say
Well,
that
that's-
about Billy Bragg out of context.
But I think Billy Bragg his tone is appropriate. Like, because I would say like all your fascists or like this machine kills fascists. Like, boom, these are like Billy Bragg is a union buster. Like, this is stuff that again
he's not a union buster.
Oh, he is.
He's a union booster.
Right. But yeah, that's right. He's a scab. But he, he's somebody who is like anthemic, working man, like pro working class folk hero.
Well,
of our
is Arlo
age.
Guthrie not? I mean,
No, but Arlo Guthrie is more of the like '60s, like Grateful Dead style, jammy sort of like.
well, he's not jammy. He was folky.
No, his work if you listen to like a live Allison's Restaurant, it's already like a nice long story of a song, and then it like jams out and goes in a few places.
Sure. But if you listen to like City of New Orleans, that's a very. I mean, he didn't write that song, but he made it famous.
Right, but
And it's just like it's kind of like a modern day "This Land Is My Land."
Yeah,
it's just
but
like
it's-
get out there and see the world kind of thing through the.
Yeah, I guess in terms of like bridging in modern sensibilities, like modern indie folk and modern indie rock and like modern protest rock, like these are the guys to go to versus Arlo Guthrie, whose career was in the like late '60s into the '70s, who he's had his time. Like I think that they actually found these guys, like they found Wilco at just the right time to collaborate with Billy Bragg and keep him, who was maybe just on the outs in terms of like his.
Well, I feel like they were there to balance him out to make it a little more fun.
And-
like
and
they add
also
the
modern-
fun, he adds the like
But
you know
they made it.
gravitas.
They made it a little richer. He's a pretty bare bones production.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
he's kind of a guitar. and
Yeah,
a
but I mean
voice.
that's what you think of when you think of Woody
Right.
Guthrie. He never. I mean, I can't think of a single thing where he had much of a band other than when he was playing with Pete Seeger and those guys.
Right.
As that band, and they didn't have drums. It was just all strings.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about Arlo Guthrie anyways, so I'm glad that he didn't get to have any.
Dude,
of
are
them.
you? What?
I don't know. I think that he has.
Alice's Restaurant is really fun. It's a great
Yeah.
movie. It's a great.
But it's not
Album?
like, yeah, I don't. It's hard for it to stand. Like if I didn't know that it was Woody Guthrie's son, I would just oh, that's that fun Alice's Restaurant. Like I wouldn't need to go too much deeper on the context because it's very of its time
Mhm.
and a very like if I'm thinking hippies and like a
Yeah.
hippie song and a hippie like story, that's where this goes.
Yeah.
Bloop. And the greater context is, oh, this is the kid of this. It's sort of like, I don't know, if somebody found some Frank Zappa records, I'd rather they give it to Mothersbaugh to do new versions of it than to like give it to Moon Weasel or whatever.
You mean Dweezil and Moon Unit
Yeah.
and Ahmet?
Weasel.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Dweezil and Ahmet collaborated with Weird Al on a really good tribute to Frank Zappa, and it was wonderful.
Mike Mothersbaugh's Frank Zappa would be so good.
Anyway, no, he would never do it because he used to make fun of Devo all the time. He hated Devo.
Yeah, that's
And,
fine.
well,
That's
in his
all the
songs
more
anyway. In his
reason.
songs, he made fun of them a lot. He couldn't stand new wave. His stuff was often making
All the
fun
more
of.
reason to
Mhm.
make his stuff anyway.
But yeah, go out and listen to this and listen to all the volumes, but start with this one. Listen to it all the way through in order.
So what's
Yeah,
the
do
like
it.
off this record? This is the important song
Mhm.
thing that we need to answer
Whoa.
on everything.
Yeah.
What's the like close the deal? What's the like close the deal track off this one?
Yeah, see, you seem to think that music has this power. I don't kind of look at tracks that way. It's kind of tough.
I mean, you were thinking minor key because it's a minor.
Ain't nobody that can sing like me. It's California Stars, I think, is the one that is really, that's a date night move. That's a date night song. I don't know if it's gonna seal the deal, but it's one, it's starry eyed and
Yeah, I think Blood of the Lamb from the second album is definitely the deal.
Probably
You
Christ for
washed
President.
Christ for
in the-
President.
That was pretty good, but are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
She came along to me. Ingrid Bergman,
No, that's singing about somebody else.
Hesitating Beauty.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a song saying like, hey,
I think Birds and Ships.
we could have been married already if you weren't hesitating.
Birds and Ships is a good one. Hoodoo Voodoo is a good follow-up too. When you get a little raucous.
Yeah, if it lasts that long, if you know what I mean.
Hey.
If you could make it, 2 songs.
Well, that's why I put Birds and Ships on double speed.
Billy Bragg. Anybody got any final? That's Billy Bragg and Wilco. Anybody have any final thoughts on Wilco, Woody Guthrie, Arlo Guthrie, Billy Bragg, Natalie Merchant?
and the
Ingrid Bergman.
and the lost and forgotten song poems.
On the island of Stromboli. With the other volumes, I do kind of wish that they had kind of brought in like a new kind of head of the class each record. Billy Bragg and Wilco, Volume 1 is a masterpiece. Volume 2 is good, but then have that transition into, I don't know, like Ani DeFranco. She does a great job with Woody Guthrie songs. I would love to have seen what she does. She's got an interesting take in the when she gets in the studio, the stuff that they do production-wise is really neat.
Get on
Like,
her and Arlo together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
or her and Elvis Costello,
yeah, dude, that would have been great.
Jonathan Colton and Amy Mann
Maybe for the third record.
for the 5th record.
They didn't have this. Well, Amy Mann has a street cred, but nobody heard of Colton when this first record came out, did they?
But like he
No.
would have done great on the My Flying Saucer.
I don't
You
remember
know,
that song. That's on the second record.
It's on the second record. It's after the.
Is it
Airplane
about
Breakers
is it
final.
about the reptile overlords?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Alex Jones' opening theme song. You don't know it? Like we've talked about it over and over.
This land is your land. This land is my land. It belongs to the reptoid overlords and the greys that help them.
So buy my supplements.
And stay in line, or else they'll kill you and your family.
It's my flying saucer. Where can you be? Since I said night that you sailed away from me.
Who's singing it? Wilco? Or is
No,
that
I
a
think it's
Billy Bragg?
Bragg.
But it's like a Christ equivalent. Using flying saucer is like.
Is it Christ or is it Ezekiel saw the wheel way up high in the middle of the air?
Yeah, I mean, it's someone saying like, well, it's Jesus. You'll sail back before the day gets bright. I pray this night. Blah blah. Like basically, there are a few levels because they also
Mhm.
want to do the flying saucer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in a creepy way.
No, in like an innocent like young man thinking back on all his flying saucers.
Okay, well, I think we've said all we can about
Yeah,
Mermaid
I
Avenue.
think
What do you
so.
think, Julian?
I think
Got anything else to say?
Nope, nope.
Kristen?
Nope.
John?
Yeah, one question to the group. So, Kristen, you would listen to this more.
One
question to the
one
group. So
Kristen.
Kristen.
Would you listen to this more?
Would I listen to this again?
Yeah. Or is it done?
Yeah, I might
Never
listen to
again.
Volume 2. I didn't make my way to Volume 2
Yeah,
yet.
don't. I think Volume 3 can. Actually, they do a thing on Spotify where actually you can
Mhm.
listen to all of them
Yeah.
in one big playlist. But
It's not. I mean, it's not terrible. It's
3,
just not as good.
2 is really good. 3 is
Mhm.
soft. It's kind of. It's
I
again.
just
it
don't
seems
think
like-
you've lived with it as much as you've lived with the other ones.
No, it's kind of like did I complain about this already on one of the other casts where when you get those like digitally remastered extra deluxe versions on like iTunes or
Yeah.
on Spotify, and you get to like this is like a bad version of pictures of you. Why are there 3 pictures of you on this Cure
Yeah.
album?
Oh, because they decided to put the like unreleased demo on
Right.
there. Yeah.
Because at first I'm like, do I have this on loop?
Because-
And, like it
because-
just gets worse every time.
on the original on the unreleased demo, it's these pictures of Stu, and it
Yeah.
really doesn't make any sense.
That's
You're like,
great.
who's Stu?
I've been staring so long. These pictures of stew and the chunky ones with meat really excite me. Is that
But I
one?
almost can see his chest hair.
Oh, I was going more with like he's real hungry.
Oh, it's
He's like-
Stu like in a pot. I was going with Stu like Stewart.
or a guy named Stuart in a pot.
Yeah. But they did do like some interesting demos on one of the My Aim Is True, the Elvis Costello record, and there's some really cool stuff on there. It's not on. He does this demo that became another song, but in and of itself, it's really cool. It's like, remember you'll only be the boss so long as you pay my wage. There's no other recording of that other than this demo that's on that. So
All right.
Cool.
it's really neat.
One last question. This is for the group for sure. You can pick one song to put on a mixtape from this album. Only one song. What song do you put on?
I've done that.
I have also done that. I've used Hoodoo Voodoo and I've used At My Window Sad and Lonely. A little on the nose.
Birds and
maybe.
Ships right here. Anytime. I've put that probably on 3 different mixed CDs of different kinds.
What do you think, Kristen?
I'd put Walt Whitman's niece.
And I,
But he didn't say which niece. There's some double entendre in that song too.
and not to say which stairs.
Not to say which seaman.
That's true. I
Not to
put
say which head.
yeah.
That was just the obvious one that
Yeah.
no one was going to say.
I put Ingrid Bergman on
Yeah.
playlist before on a record.
Mhm.
Good
It
pick,
made me
Keith.
realize that Stromboli was an actual place and not the bad guy in not just the bad guy in Pinocchio or something you get at a pizza shop.
Well, no, the ones you get at a pizza shop are just like meat circles or whatever, like they're bread and meat circles. You can only call them Strombolis if they come from the Isle of Stromboli.
Right. Like feta cheese
yeah.
and champagne.
Yeah, like sparkling wine comes from
Yeah.
wherever else.
Yeah.
It's champagne comes from champagne.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
So
it's
who's
Swiss-
coming up next? Who's got something new to them?
Well, we got to get
I'm-
through the end of this. Where
Oh.
can you see or hear rather Mermaid Avenue?
Anywhere that you listen to music, I listen to it on Spotify, even though they're getting more and more annoying with their stuff. I might just have to stop using Spotify.
What's getting
Why is
annoying?
getting annoying?
Like they try to stream stuff on your phone, but if you're underground, it won't stream it. Like they'll like try to stream an advertisement in between sections, and
You
then
could try-
if you can't do it, then
you
you.
could try paying for it, Keith. You
But
could
why
try
do
that.
they offer the free version?
Well, the nice
And I'm like, you know what? I'm paying for it by listening to these ads.
I wonder why they make it a little bit crappy and annoying.
yeah,
Hmm.
because the other nice thing about owning it,
Well, I do own the
service-
CD,
Well, owning the service is that you can download stuff to your
Yeah.
phone, and then you have access to it. Wherever
and then
you
you're
go.
using your freaking space on your phone, man. Come on.
I don't know if it's
I need
better
those
or
for
worse than
pictures.
using your data.
I need those for pictures.
Oh, man, then you need to subscribe to all the other cloud services.
Yeah, that's true.
$200 a month later, you'll be
yeah,
golden.
yeah.
Man in a Sand is not streaming anywhere right now. I know you can buy it on Amazon, and I think you can buy it on maybe on iTunes.
Watch clips on YouTube.
You can
I
watch a
don't know.
couple clips on YouTube.
Did we get the sense that they enjoyed hanging out with Billy Bragg and collaborating from the
Jeff,
clips that you've
Jeff
seen?
Tweedy's hard to read. I don't know. I mean, I
I
haven't
feel like
seen
he's
the
mellowed out in his age,
Yeah.
but yeah.
The documentary, it's been a while since I've seen it. Natalie Merchant is having a great time.
Just being
think-
silly.
Yeah, she's kind of messing with Billy Bragg. Billy Bragg's having a good time. It's a good experiment for him.
And Jeff Tweedy's like, man, I wish I knew how to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pulling people together. Like, he's used to kind of running the show a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Jeff
Yeah.
Tweedy is like he's used to putting everything how he likes it, and so you can tell like he's trying to just let it happen. And but there are
Which
times
is maybe why Jules likes
Yeah.
it more than.
so he'll obviously be like making faces during a cut, and then at the end of it be like, yeah, that was good. That was pretty. It was pretty like it was loose as shit, but it was fun. Like it's like all right, good key.
Good job.
Yes.
Good job, John.
Good job. Yeah.
Last night or the night before that, I won't say which night. A seaman friend of mine, I'll not say which seaman, walked up to a big old building. I won't say which building, and would not have walked up the stairs. Not to say which stairs, if there had not been two girls leaving out the name of two girls. I recall a door, a big long room. I'll not tell which room.
Such a question is there are many possible answers, such as
Feel I'm alone in this whole of existence.
I know it takes time, but I'm losing my persistence. The distance is too far to fetch, so I sketch on pages and hope that some catch the thoughts of my inverted worded music. No trial and error, just emotion.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of the New to You Show. I was one of your hosts, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at LordJoho and on Instagram at board_ghost. And you can listen to my other podcast, boardghost.com at boardghost.com. is a podcast. Keith, where can people find you?
You should listen to his podcast at boardghost.com, boardghost.com. It's pretty good. You can see my stuff at earthlingkeith.com. And Jules?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at BeautifulJules. And how about you, Kristen?
You can find me on Instagram at Kristen Sherm. That's KRISTNSHERM.
All right. So before we get into what's coming up next week, who's got something that's new to them?
I do.
You do. What's new, Jules?
So I've been listening to a new podcast by Jesse Thorne of Maximum Fun, who's famously had the Bullseye podcast for a long time. And
Used to be the Sound of Young America.
Yep, he's got a new one called The Turnaround, where he interviews interviewers about interviewing. And
It's a little meta.
It's a little meta, but so far just great guests, really interesting conversations. Some are more like some of the guests stay more or less on topic, but even if they don't end up giving you that many insights about interviewing in the end, you learn a lot about. I mean, it's still a great interview from an interesting person. But it comes out the gate with an episode with Ira Glass, which is amazing and a must listen. I think that first episode is terrific. And then just lots of great people since then. He's interviewed Audie Cornish, Brooke Gladstone, Errol Morris, Katie Couric, Werner Herzog, and I don't know how many more he's going to do, but so far it's great.
Yeah, he's done Brooke Gladstone.
I mentioned Brooke
No, Brooke Gladstone of the Asbury Gladstones.
Check it out, The Turnaround podcast.
It's really fun, and you would imagine it would get a little like in the weeds, but they keep it light the whole time.
Yeah. He kind of lets. I mean, he kind of lets the guests take it where they want it. They know
He learned to do that.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I think Ira Glass was my favorite because you actually learn a lot about interviewing.
Nice.
I think he's very good at explaining his process and stuff like that.
Nice.
I always learn a lot from when he talks about how he does things. So.
Do you think that informs, because you've been thinking about working up more documentary work on your end? Does that kind of inform how you might approach those?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is.
Did you learn anything from Werner Herzog?
I haven't listened to that one yet. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, but I probably won't.
You probably won't learn anything.
No, but it'll be really interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, he had there's this website called Masterclass where they basically have like famous writers and directors and things like that do a masterclass where it's like a 10-part video series where they talk about stuff, and then I think they also might do some live discussion at some point. And I signed up for the Werner Herzog one just because I wanted to hear him talk about stuff for 10 hours, and it was great. I did learn some stuff. I mean, more like it's just interesting to
10
hear somebody.
hours.
I
It's
think
like
it's
10 1-hour classes.
yeah,
Wow.
something like that. And it is interesting to hear somebody like define how they do things in their process, even if it's sometimes obvious, like just to hear them say it in their own words or how they view it is interesting. Yeah, it was. I would also recommend that if you're really into Werner Herzog. But I forget. It was a little bit pricey. I can't remember how much it cost. Yeah.
All right. And so where can people
The
find
turnaround.
The turnaround?
The Maximum Fun.
On your
The
Maximum Fun,
MaximumFun.org.
Yep.
You'll be able to find
or
it.
you can just search The Turnaround on your podcatcher of choice.
All right. Cool.
And just though, I mean, I feel like we're always mentioning Maximum Fun. They're really a good podcast
Yes.
network.
Yeah.
So if you like, I mean, if you've been listening to us and you don't know about them, look into it. It's really good. There are so many good podcasts. One of our guests that we've had on before, Taylor Smurl, has a show on there. It's just so many good, funny things all in one place. It's pretty amazing. Great shows.
Who's up next week? I think, Kristen, you're going to be up next
Yes,
week.
I am.
What are you bringing to the table for Lost and Forgotten?
I chose the animated film Atlantis, The Lost Empire.
All right. So there's like a nice through story.
Mm-hmm.
Forgotten
Mermaids,
and
Atlantis.
underwater
Yes,
lost.
a little underwater
Ooh.
adventure.
And if you want to watch it before the next episode, I believe it's streaming on Netflix.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Check it out.
And also, Michael J. Fox came up.
He did, and I
Yeah,
didn't
he
want
did.
to
Yeah,
like.
from the Frighteners.
And
Yeah.
Morgan
Didn't-
Freeman came up.
Yeah.
Morgan
Morgan
Freeman's
Freeman's not
not
in
in
Atlantis.
Well,
But he did come up.
We'll get into
Fact.
him and Jim Varney.
Father Guido Sarducci didn't
Yeah.
come up, but he's in that.
So did Jim Varney, and he came up. All right, gang. Thanks. You can go to the newtoyoushow.com website to find all the episodes. You can follow us on Twitter. We're also on iTunes. You can follow us on your favorite podcast listening portal. Leave us reviews and comments if you would be so kind as to. And you can learn more about the hosts and all the materials that we talked about at our website and maybe in the show notes if we have show notes.
Maybe. If
It
we
may
didn't
not-
forget about them.
But
Or
if
lose
you,
them somehow.
yeah. Oh, hey, it may not be new, but maybe it's new to you.
No to you! Explosion sound.
It's all about the music. This pitiful life is all about the music. This pitiful life is all about the music. This pitiful life is all about the music.
Be with him together forever, without the limitation of time ever again. So the second coming of the Lord is not there. They're two separate